America always prefers to act with allies at our side. And we're grateful to Canada for working closely with us to confront the challenges of Iran and North Korea. Multilateral organizations can do great good in the world. Yet, the success of multilateralism is measured not merely by following a process, but by achieving results. The objective of the UN and other institutions must be collective security, not endless debate. For the sake of peace, when those bodies promise serious consequences must follow. America and Canada helped create the United Nations. And because we remain committed to that institution, we want it to be more than a League of Nations. My country is determined to work as far as possible within the framework of international organizations. And we're hoping that other nations will work with us to make those. Institutions more relevant and more effective in meeting the unique threats of our time. Our second commitment is to fight global terrorism with every action and resource the task requires. Canada has taken a series of critical steps to guard against the danger of terrorism. You created the Department of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness. You've toughened your anti-terror laws. You're upgrading your intelligence. I want to thank the government for all those constructive and important decisions. Our two countries are working together every day to keep our people safe. That is the most solemn duty I have, and the most solemn duty the Prime Minister has. From the Smart Border Accord to the container security. Initiative to the Joint Command of NORAD, we are working together. I hope we'll also move forward on ballistic missile defense cooperation to protect the next generation of Canadians and Americans from the threats we know will arise. The energetic defense of our nations is an important duty. Yet, defense alone is not a sufficient strategy. On September the 11th, the people of North America learned that the two vast oceans, and friendly neighbors cannot fully shield us from the dangers of the 21st century. There's only one way to deal with enemies who plot in secret and set out to murder the innocent and the unsuspecting. We must take the fight to them. We must be relentless and we must be steadfast in our duty to protect our people. Both of the countries have learned this lesson. In the early days of World War II, when the United States was still wrestling with isolationism, Canadian forces were already engaging the enemies of freedom from the Atlantic across the Atlantic. At the time, some Canadians argued that Canada had not been attacked and had no interest in fighting a distant war. Your Prime Minister, Mackenzie King, gave this answer. We cannot defend our country and save our homes and families by waiting for the enemy to attack us. To remain on the defensive is the surest way to bring the war to Canada. Of course, we should protect our coasts and strengthen our ports and cities against attack. But the Prime Minister went on to say, we must also go out and meet the enemy before he reaches our shores. We must defeat him before he attacks us, before our cities are laid to waste. Mackenzie King was correct then, and we must always remember the wisdom of his words today. In the new era the threat is different, but our duties are the same. Our enemies have declared their intentions and so have we. Peaceful nations must keep the peace by going after the terrorists. And disrupting their plans and cutting off their funding. We must hold the sponsors of terror equally responsible for terrorist acts. We must prevent outlaw regimes from gaining weapons of mass destruction and providing them to terrorists. We must stay at these efforts with patience and resolve, until we prevail. Our third great commitment is to enhance our own security by promoting freedom and hope and democracy. In the broader Middle East, the United States and Canada and all free nations need to look ahead. If, 20 years from now, the Middle East is dominated by dictators and mullahs, who build weapons of mass destruction and harbor terrorists, our children and our grandchildren will live in a nightmare world of danger. That must not happen. By taking the side of reformers and Democrats in the Middle East, we will gain allies in the war on terror. And isolate the ideology of murder and help to defeat the despair and hopelessness that feeds terror. The world will become a much safer place as democracy advances. For decades of tyranny and neglect in the broader Middle East, progress toward freedom will not come easily. I know that. Yet, it is cultural condescension to claim that some peoples or some Cultures or some religions are destined to despotism and unsuited for self-government. Today in the Middle East, the doubters and pessimists are being proven wrong. We're seeing movement toward elections, and greater rights for women, and open discussion of peaceful reform. I believe that people across the Middle East are weary of poverty and oppression and plead in silence for their liberty. I believe this is an historic moment in the broader Middle East. And we must seize this moment by standing with everyone who stands for liberty. We're standing with the people of Afghanistan, a nation that has gone from a safe haven. For terrorists to a steadfast ally in the war on terror in 3.5 short years. Canada deployed more than 7,000 troops and much of your navy in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. This year, your country has led the International Security Assistance Force in Kabul. The coalition we share is doing honorable work, yet democracy is taking hold in that country because the Afghan people. Like people everywhere, want to live in freedom. They registered by the millions to vote in October. They stood in long lines on election day. An Afghan widow brought all 4 of her daughters to vote alongside her. She said, "When you see women here lined up to vote, this is something profound. I never dreamed this day would come. But that woman's dream finally arrived." As it will one day across the Middle East. These are unprecedented, historic events that many said would never come. and Canadians can be proud of the part you have played in the advance of human liberty. We must also stand with the brave people of Iraq who are preparing for elections on January the 30th. Sometimes, even the closest of friends disagree. And 2 years ago, we disagreed about the best course of action in Iraq. Yet, as your Prime Minister made clear in Washington earlier this year, there is no disagreement at all with what has to be done in going forward. We must help. The Iraqi people secure their country and build a free and democratic society. The Canadian government has pledged more than $200 million in humanitarian aid and reconstruction assistance. And agreed to relieve more than $450 million in Iraqi debt. That help is greatly appreciated. There's more work to be done together. Both Canada and the United States, and all free nations, have a vital interest in the success of a free Iraq. The terrorists have made Iraq the central front in the war on terror because they know what is at stake. When a free and democratic society is established in Iraq, in the heart of the Middle East, it will be a decisive blow to their aspirations to dominate the region and its people. A free Iraq will be a standing rebuke to radicalism, and a model to reformers from Damascus to Tehran. In Fallujah and elsewhere, our coalition and Iraqi forces are on the offensive and we are delivering a message. Freedom, not oppression, is the future of Iraq. Freedom is a precious right for every individual. Regardless of the color of their skin or the religion they may hold. A long night of terror and tyranny in that region is ending. And a new day of freedom and hope and self-government is on the way. And we will stand with the Palestinian and Israeli peoples and help end the destructive conflict between them. Prime Minister Martin has expressed the desire of his government to take a broader role in the quest for peace and democracy, and America welcomes your involvement. It's a time of change and a time of hope in that region. We seek justice and dignity, and a viable independent and democratic state for the Palestinian people. We seek security and peace for the State of Israel, a state that Canada, like America, first recognized in 1948. These are worthy goals in themselves, and by reaching them, we will also remove an excuse for hatred and violence in the broader Middle East. Achieving peace in the Holy Land is not just a matter of pressuring one. Side or the other on the shape of a border or the site of a settlement. This approach has been tried before, without success. As we negotiate the details of peace, we must look to the heart of the matter. Which is the need for a Palestinian democracy. The Palestinian people deserve a peaceful government that truly serves their interests. And the Israeli people need a true partner in peace. Our destination is clear: two states, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace and security. And that destination can be reached by only one path, the path of democracy and reform and the rule of law. If all parties will apply effort, if all nations who are concerned about this issue will apply goodwill, This conflict can end and peace can be achieved. And the time for that effort and the time for that goodwill is now.